During the past 3 years, they had the thugs leading a first coup on July 2001. They failed. The people stood up. Later on, the same year, December 17, 2001, they went to the National Palace with the machine gun. Drug dealers, well-financed, with heavy weapons. Fortunately, I wasn't at that night at the palace, so I was alive. But the people stood up because they wanted to defend not me as a human being isolated from a program. Investing in the human being was our program and is still our program, through education, through healthcare, through all what we could do to protect the rights. They also have the rights to eat, as they have the rights to go to school, to get healthcare. So they understood what was going on. And the international community, through the United States and France in a particular way, they couldn't lead their coup and succeed, but they attempted. Finally, when they realized on February 28 at night, they had to present their own faces. They did it by kidnapping me when they came. So my answer is simple. It didn't happen before, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years ago, because they couldn't. It happened when it happened because they had to present their own face and show the people what they were doing years ago. It's a kind of picture where at the same time you will see this little minority criticizing me, which is necessary because in any democratic system you have to have that. You will see an increasing number of poor people showing their support, and unfortunately they killed a good number of them, and they will continue to kill others just because they show how they recognize the future through our program. When you give school to people, when you want them to have health care, when they have houses through social program, of course, they see the difference between who is saying this and doing the opposite and who is implementing what he said with little as financial resources. So my best answer would come from the people, because 6 months ago they kidnapped me. I am here far from my country and they are still demonstrating to have me back. On July 15, my birthday, they went to the capital, thousands, hundreds of thousands, and they demonstrated. So they are giving the best answer in terms of why they still support me, why they want me to be back. Let me give an example. A white journalist went to Haiti one day, and he wanted to know why the poor people supported me. He asked a lady selling something to survive, why do you support Aristide? You are still poor. And she smiled. She said to the white journalist, if you are talking to me now, it's because of Aristide. You see, Haitian, they want their dignity to be respected. She is poor, but she cares for her own dignity. She's not asking for your money, but first for respect. I think I will not want to accuse anyone by giving too many details, but I can just highlight some major points. A, there is a war in Iraq. It was said that weapons of massive destruction were there. They had to find them. Did they find them? Unfortunately, there we found in Abu Ghraib the kind of torture which we will never forget. So many people were killed, including US soldiers, for lies. France said no to the war, but they said yes to the genocide in Haiti. And of course, Debré and the others, they were paving the way. They knew what they were going to do in Haiti after opposing Iraq. So when the left side don't have information from the South, they may tend to have doubts. And if they don't have doubts, they may not have the capacity of telling the truth because they are not the owners of the whole machine. We are living in a new world somehow, dominated by lies, powers, people having values and willing to defend those values may take risk by telling the truth. In my country, where we were fighting in a peaceful way to protect democratic values, of course, we had the opposition lying, and they had the right to say what they wanted to say, demonstrating. They had the right to demonstrate. But can you do that the same way in the US? I don't think so. Can you do that the same way in France? I don't think so. Because somehow you don't feel so free to tell the truth as you could say it on my leadership in Haiti. So this is the kind of reality which we are facing today. Power of money, political power, you take the lead, you go wherever you want to go, and you have others following you because they have some other interest. So I think one day some people will finally embrace the truth and say, wow, now I understand what I couldn't understand at that time. Weeks before the kidnapping, we were in Jamaica, where again we said yes to power sharing, which we proposed years before. 2001, we proposed it. We went again and again saying the same thing, let's have that power sharing despite of the results of our democratic elections. Some said no. Days before, they said no. Even when Mr. Noriega went to Haiti with an international delegation to propose a plan for power sharing, I said yes. And the others said no. It was a game. I remember that Mr. Noriega talking about the convicted people they were financing, the drug dealers they were financing, while they were on the ground killing people, and I called them thugs. And he said in that meeting, we will call them killers. Unfortunately, we still have those same people on the ground killing people and well protected as if it were something else. This is the contradiction. But it was to say, this idea of having power sharing, yes, we propose it from the beginning to the last minute. And what is my future? I don't know for it to the last point, but I know that what I had, I still have it. I had the will to compromise, to work with the opposition for the benefit of the people and to have democracy growth, because we cannot have democracy without an opposition. So I wish finally they will realize that what happened is not good for the people, but they cannot continue to do the same things. So they will finally say yes to power sharing. B, I am still the only elected president of Haiti, despite of what they did on February 2004. Far from my country, I have to pay attention to what the people are saying. The people are saying, we have one elected president, we want him to be back. Now, I never wanted power for power. I was always convinced that power is a way to serve, and you cannot pretend that you will be serving people when people don't elected you. So those who elected me, they will continue to talk, and I have to continue to pay attention to what they are saying. In the future, I will never make decision alone and willing to impose my decision for my political goal. I will always do my best, as I did in the past, to pay attention to what the people are saying, and through democratic channels to see how can we be serving people at their service, far or with them, always doing our best to serve. Yes, I do, and I continue to learn from him. For instance, they arrested him in 1802. Why they didn't arrest him years before? I think they could arrest him in 1791 when, after Bwakayima, he emerged as a leader to continue to grow as the leader. They didn't do that because the French people at that time realized they had to protect him instead of killing him for their own survival. As a matter of fact, when one slave asked Toussaint Louverture, what to do with those white people? We need to kill them. Silently, he took stones, white and black. He put those stones in a glass. He shook the glass and then asked his brother slave, what do you see? And he said, well, I see stone which are black, those are whites, and they are mixed. And Toussaint said, exactly, that's the lesson. The same way I mix them, the same way we and them, we have to be mixed to live in a place where we will not be slaves, but they will not be killed. I learned that lesson. I should not hide my faith, because from my faith I got and I still get strength, inspiration to understand this issue. Unkulunkulu in Zulu means God. Ukutanda in Zulu means to love. From here to my country, we have the same God, because he's asking us to love. And you don't have any merit when you feel happy because you love those who love you. You feel that you have merit when you can transcend to continue to love those who hate you. It's strange. If you don't share the same faith, you may not understand that. But if you do, then you understand. As a matter of fact, if you go to Haiti years ago, you would find me always open to those who financed the coup against me in 1991, always ready to talk with respect with those who financed what they did on September 11, 1988, when they burned the church where we were celebrating Mass. So this capacity of transcending things gives you the capacity of loving people despite of what they did against you. That doesn't mean impunity. That means love. Justice and love are linked. Having a judicial system which was corrupted, you cannot disband it as you disband the army, in my case. So we had to respect the judicial system as an independent branch because of democracy. So if they refuse to provide justice, what can you do? You can encourage them. You can look for more financial resources for them, not to bribe them or to buy them, but for them to have a bicycle when they have to move, car when they have to move, paper when they have to write, and then building slowly a judicial system within a state of law means patience. But to have that patience when you are head of state, where you could use power to go against those who paid people to kill you, that means you have to love them. It's the same way when they ask me, what do you think about President Bush? Do you feel love when you think about him? I said, yes. Some people may say, well, I don't understand what you are talking about. How can you love someone or like someone who did things like that against your country, against yourself? I say, look at, he's a human being. I'm a human being. I have to respect him as a human being. When Secretary of State Colin Powell was addressing the people in a ceremony before the actual U.S. Ambassador Foley went to Haiti, he reminded what Haiti did for the United States, which was our contribution by defeating Napoleon's army. Because Napoleon, at that time, he wanted to have Louisiana. And when he was defeated because of the Haitian determination to have freedom, he had to abandon this project. And the United States could buy Louisiana, which represented at that time about half of the territory of the United States. So we, before that, were ready to fight for freedom, as after that we continue to fight for freedom. That's the reason why we had Haitians in Georgia, Savannah, side by side with Americans to fight to free the United States. It was there they had the last G8 summit in Georgia, where precisely we had the blood of Haitians. And by saying that, it's also the blood of Africans, because during the 10 years before 1804, almost 2/3 of those who were fighting in Haiti for freedom came from Africa, because they were born in Africa. So there, our mother continent and Haiti, as part of the African diaspora, together, we helped the United States to be free. President Clinton called them the most repugnant elite of the world. And it's true. He's right. When we see what they are doing, of course, they behave this way. I have respect for them. That's why I was open to them, and I'm still open to them. And I said, as I say, we should not confuse all of them. As a tiny group, 1%, yes. But among them, I know people who are decent, rich Haitians. They disagree with what is going on. They don't have the courage to say the truth in a public way, but I will never confuse these people to all the others. The small minority, 1%, for having about half of the wealth of the country, for being used to move from coup d'etat to coup d'etat, to protect the statu quo. They don't pay tax. As I said, if you pay tax, it's a crime, because then you threaten those who refuse to pay tax. They speak French. They don't want people to speak French. So if you have literacy campaign, if you have schools, there, instead of seeing it will benefit all of us, they prefer to fight violently to prevent you to lead this way. So it's a sickness. It's a kind of social sickness. And as Haitian, I'm patient, ready to start again, to pay respect, to listen to them, to have dialogue with them, because we said no to violence. So what can we do? If we refuse to have dialogue, we cannot use weapons. We want state of law. So law will need to have all of us around the table, where a state of law will be the light for all of us, not blessing you, giving you fiscal amnesty as they always ask for. I cannot give that. It doesn't belong to me. We have to respect law, starting by the president. So, yes, the tiny minority needs to understand it's good for them if they decide to change their way to behave. Spontaneously, I'm tempted to give a theological answer. Sometimes I feel, and I say it, what happened with Jesus? He said he was God. He said he wanted justice for everybody, loving everybody. And about 2,000 years after, we still have to fight for that justice, to spread that love. Did Jesus fail? What happened? He's God. How could he fail? I think the joy is in the struggle. He didn't fail when we can be inspired by himself to struggle peacefully for justice. So before bearing the fruits, we already have the joy through that kind of vision. That's the reason why when we are tempted to be invaded by sadness, we also can find reason to not be sad. Once we are faithful to principles, to people, doing our best to succeed. I don't pretend that I can give democracy today, but I'm convinced that I did a lot with people because we are a community, national and international, as citizens of the world. We can do a lot to improve the quality of life through the world. During the past 3 years, they had the thugs leading a first coup on July. It's a kind of picture where at the same time you will see this little minority criticizing me, which is necessary because in any democratic system you have to have that. You will see an increasing number of poor people showing their support. And unfortunately, they killed a good number. Investing in the human being was our program and is still our program through education, through healthcare, through all what we could do to protect the rights. They also have the rights to eat, as they have the rights to go to school, to get healthcare. So they understood what was going on. And the international community, through the United States and France in a particular way, they couldn't lead their coup and succeed, but they, 2001, they failed. The people stood up. Later on, the same year, December 17, 2001, they went to the National Palace with the machine gun. Drug dealers, well-financed, with heavy weapons. Fortunately, I wasn't at that night at the palace, so I was alive. But the people stood up because they wanted to defend not me as a human being isolated from a program. Attempted. Finally, when they realized on February 28 at night, they had to present their own faces. They did it by kidnapping me when they came. So my answer is simple. It didn't happen before, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years ago, because they couldn't. It happened when it happened because they had to present their own face and show the people what they were doing years ago.